It is an extraordinary moment, given what the world and this country is dealing with at the president, and we're remembering the past and the scale of that major event. Quite a moment for the president.
And we've seen the mobilization, certainly General Motors, General, and other great American companies pulling together to manufacture ventilators, manufacture masks. The president this week venturing out for the first time in a couple of months, venturing outside of Washington, outside of the White House, to go to Arizona for one of those mask manufacturing plants. And it does also bring you back to World War II, General, when we had the arsenals of democracy, where these great American companies were helping with the war effort.
Oh, yeah. All our major industrial companies were part of the war machine effort. Automobile companies were making tanks and trucks, everything for the war effort. The shipbuilding industry was turned into making battleships, aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, etc. Everybody in this country, to some degree, was involved in this in major war effort. We had women in the workforce on a scale we had never, ever seen before.
Absolutely. Let's pause for a moment and watch the president and the first lady.
President Trump and the First Lady marking 75 years since the end of World War II in Europe at the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. General Jack Keane is still joining us. In general, these veterans with whom the president is speaking with now and saying hi to each one of them, they were faced with the challenge of traveling amid the COVID-19 outbreak. And faced with the risks, they said, we want to be there. They were supposed to be overseas, but they said, we'll be there at the memorial. Saying they viewed the commemoration as a, quote, blessing to all who fought, died, and served in World War II. What a moment, General Keane, for us all to take this in as Americans.
Yeah, absolutely, Sandra. I can't imagine them letting any impediment stop them from getting to this event where they would be able to honor all of their teammates and also share in this experience with the president and the American people writ large. Nothing would keep them from this event. Not COVID-19 or the obstacle of travel. They're here because they want to be here, and their heart is really here.
Yeah. In general, when you
Ed,
look...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ed.
Well, I was just thinking about the National Day of Prayer as well, Sandra and General Keane. President tweeting overnight, as our nation heals, our spirit has never been stronger. And General, it, as you suggested a moment ago, is a chance to pause and reflect on what we've been through. And it's been a remarkable couple of months, and it's not over yet.
No, that's absolutely the case. And what a learning experience for everybody, for American citizens around the world, for the leaders of all of these countries. No one had the answers at the beginning, but everybody has better answers now as a result of what's transpired. And the way this country has responded and the leaders throughout the country is really, in my judgment, quite remarkable.
Yeah, and just to highlight those veterans with whom the president was speaking, 8 World War II veterans, the youngest of them aged 96. They were asked to join the president at this memorial today. And General Keane, talk about the memorial and the different way we're seeing this day, the conclusion of World War II in Europe 75 years ago, the way we're celebrating today. Things are obviously looking much different amid the pandemic, the outbreak of COVID-19 here in the United States. But still, the president said it was so important for him to honor those veterans and to arrive at the memorial today.
Well, we're a country, a very patriotic country, unabashedly so. And one of the definitions of that patriotism is never to forget those who have sacrificed so much for the country to be what it is today. And we have done this for generations in honoring our dead, even to include those back during the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. So this is a remarkable moment for America. We've always made this commitment. We have never, ever forgotten and honored those who sacrificed to help this country be a great country that it is. And it's being celebrated around the world, too. And many other countries suffered so much more in the war than we did because their civilian populations were in the war and they were targeted by the war. And even in Germany today, well, they're celebrating the end of the war, but they're also celebrating, in their words, the liberation of Germany from Nazism, which polluted their society for a generation. And that's a very important distinction that they have about this day as much as we have in terms of defeating Nazism.
Yeah, and General, when you look at that memorial that you've been noting in Washington, set up so that you can see those columns of individual states, all of these remarkable young people in America who came forward to serve this great country. And we had on the screen a moment ago that there are fewer than 400,000 living World War II vets in America now, so many dying off every single month. And obviously many senior citizens have been targeted by this virus. And you wonder how we make sure that we keep their memories alive and that we never forget their sacrifice.
Well, that memorial is a way to do that, for sure, and I'm completely convinced that we'll continue to honor them on this day and other days like it. And that monument is absolutely beautiful, and it's so majestic. And every veteran that goes there, I think they've never forgotten their experience. Most of their World War II experience were defining life experiences for them. And that's the reality of it. Many of them were involved in this war for many years, and even if they were only involved in it for a year or so, the intensity of the conflict that befell them was so significant, and it did set them on a different path for most people as a result of this conflict that took place. So I'm convinced we'll continue to honor them, and I commanding the 101st Airborne Division, which participated significantly in World War II. I had been around World War II veterans for years, and a close association with a number of them as fellow paratroopers. And I'll tell you, I've never met a group of people that I more admired in my life. And they were just so enjoyable to be around. Those of them who are still alive, and many of them who were no longer alive. They became my friends and my buddies, and just great Americans in every sense of the word.
Taking in this moment together, the president and the first lady have laid the wreath. They're now honoring those veterans of the war. General Jack Keane, what does it mean to you, to those 8 veterans who are there with the president, to have the president stop for this moment and acknowledge the enormous sacrifice that was made? With so much happening in this country right now, and the president and the first lady obviously making this the priority today.